How do you build trust with your teams? How do you get people to work well together, to communicate better during moments of crisis or when recovering from a crisis or a difficult situation or tensions between different people or different teams? Have you heard of the trust account? If not, don't worry, we will look into it as part of this video. Before that, if you've been enjoying the organizational debt series that looks at helping organizations with information on how they can get themselves back up and running, especially after the crisis and the lockdown period, then make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you know when new videos are coming out as part of the series. Now, trust account. What is it and why is it important? You're probably already thinking about it. I'm sure some of you are thinking about bank accounts, right? And yes, let's just jump straight into that. Trust accounts are just like bank accounts, but it's built on trust and is used to assess the level of trust that two people or two groups have. So you can use this idea of a bank account or making withdrawal and deposit and checking the balance of the accounts that you have. From a personal perspective, that would be checking the balance of the trust that is between you and your friends. It could be emotional trust, it could be whatever kind of transaction that you have. And from a business perspective as well, it's about checking the balance and the level of trust that the manager has with each individual member of a team, within team members, within different departments, and so much more. And why is it so important to look at the balance of trust, especially when we look in the context of organization? To summarize or to quote from Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, when the trust account is high, communication is easy, instant, and effective. I'm sure that there are many business owners and managers out there that can agree with me when I say that creating and maintaining trust and a good communication in a company is even much more difficult than coming up with a groundbreaking product, right, and taking it to market. And why is it important? Well, if you want to be productive as an organization, if you want to create the best culture, you need to get your people to talk and communicate well together, despite whatever social differences, cultural differences, personality types differences that we have. And as such, the more you have a positive culture, the more you have more trust in your organization, people are more likely to work well together. And how do you see that happening? Well, are you working in a place where people are always eager to work well within teams? People are always happy to jump on and support a team member when they are faced with deadlines, and they're just there to help them because they know that it's not just about succeeding on my own, but it's succeeding as a group as well. Different ways to know that you're working somewhere where there's trust. People are not hiding when there are things that are not going well. You know much earlier when a project is not on track, because people know that they're not going to be judged personally, that they are bringing a problem to the table so that as an organization, as a team, you can find a solution. The worst thing you want, especially as a project manager, I know that from experience, is to get to the end of a project and find out that when everybody was telling you, yes, everything is green, you find that there were issues, but they couldn't really talk about that. So for me, it's always been important to create this environment of trust with the people that I manage, whether it's within a team or a project, so that I know that they are empowered and we can communicate better and find out issues much earlier on so that we are more productive. Now, when we're looking at this idea of trust accounts and what can we do to improve it, well, to kind of make it a little bit easier for those who might need a bit more example, think a bit about how you communicate with your friends. And in fact, some of the advice that we will share today as part of the trust account and investing into relationships can also be taken from a personal perspective. Whether we do it psychologically or not, or subconsciously, we are aware of this phenomenon of a high bank account. The higher the bank account or the trust account you have with your friend, the more likely you will be there for them, you will be there to support them, and you will have a better relationship as well. And how do we do that? Well, If, for example, you are friend with someone who makes constant deposit into your friendship account, those will be, they call you to check if you are okay and see what's going on in your life. They take your view and consideration, they take your point of view in consideration depending on whatever you need to do, whether you're hanging out or going for a restaurant or whatever it is. When last time you had to move to this new house, remember when Richard turned up and helped you pack and move all your boxes? Well, that was a deposit, and the next time that Richard will be in trouble, you'll be more likely to go and help them. So this is the way that as a society, we do it subconsciously, and we grow the relationship or the emotional trust account with our friends. I'm sure that you are already thinking about some ideas of withdrawal. Well, you know the kind of people who always ask you for a favor, but they are never there for you when you need them. The kind of people that always want their opinions to be heard, but they're not really open to assessing or listening to you. The kind of people that will probably, you probably pay for drinks here and there, but they never actually reciprocate. So as a society, we are used to this way of trading when it comes to emotions. I would advise against people deciding to do good things or helping a relationship just to make deposits, but just, because they know that they might get something else in the future. Trust me, as we are also built to know that whenever someone is helping us or doing something good for us, it's from the bottom of for our heart. So if someone is faking being nice to you, you will soon find out. But now when you look at those small ideas and those small ways that we create a healthy emotional trust account with our friends, there's a lot of similarities, and the same thing happen in business and within teams and organizations. Managers create healthier bank accounts or trust account with their teams when they really get to know them and when they're interested in them as individuals and people, and not just about ticking boxes or simply finding out about progress, but not really providing the support that people need. Now, if you take this idea of trust accounts, whenever you've had a lot of tension within the organization, there has been things that are not really going well and people are disheartened and don't really trust you anymore, you can think of it as your trust account has gone down. You've made a lot of withdrawal. Unlikely for a lot of organizations and even people who have an amazing culture, what happened during the lockdown, having to send people working from home and people working with many challenges that they didn't really had before, that situation created a drain on the trust account that you had with your people. And it's a great idea that right now, as you're looking at the next part of the next 4 months until the end of the year, so how do you help your team being more productive by looking at the trust account? Some examples of withdrawal which happened during the crisis was people working from home without the right equipment, people working from home without the new procedures, or not really knowing what is that we need to do. How do we communicate? We can't really do whiteboard discussions as we used to. Some people prefer to work with people next to them, but now they don't have that anymore. But they haven't got a tool to help them to draw and work a whiteboard together really well. Some people were really nervous about not knowing whether they will go to furlough or not while the decision was being made by the decision makers. And some people went on furlough. Again, there's so many things that are going on. Now that you are bringing your teams back, for example, from furlough and non-furloughed people, you're thinking about how to address the tension. Of course, I'm recording a video and also a blog on my website on that particular topic. But whenever you're looking at, even if you put the furlough on the side and you're looking at how do you build the trust with our team, especially that people are still working at home and you don't see them every day, what is it that we can do? So I will share with you three ideas, example right now. And for those who might want more, I'll advise that you also go on my website where I will have I've got a blog on how to invest in your trust account as well. Now, the first thing I would say is exactly the same advice I talked about when building the trust between furloughed and non-furloughed employees back in the office is about empathy and discussing the issue. I will advise having a workshop or the like so that people can start talking about the experience, what happens. And the idea here is, whether you're doing it on a one-to-one basis or as a group, is to encourage people to listen without judgments. the more we can feel compassion with other people, the more we can understand how they feel, the more it will increase how we perceive the other person. It can help us challenge our preconception that we might have had from or with the other person, and that can help you to move forward as well. The second one is to acknowledge the withdrawals that were made. Now, this is a really, really good technique, whether we're looking at it from a point of view of the organizational debts, or you're thinking about dealing with conflict and mediation. It's really good to label the emotions and verbalize what you think the other person is feeling, what you think the other person, what the problem is. If it's not that, they might tell you that you got it wrong. But at least it acknowledges the fact that for the other person or the person who's aggrieved, they acknowledge the fact that, yes, you understand what I'm coming from. So this could be something simple as, we appreciate that during the lockdown, you were asked to work without policies or without tools. We're really sorry about the frustration that this might have caused you or that this caused, and we are going to look at how we can improve that in the future as well. Now, the empathy and acknowledging the withdrawals are already making a deposit into the trust accounts. People will know that they've been heard, that they're being looked at as individual, and that as an organization or as a manager, that you are doing something to change the situation. So already you can see that your trust account will start going up. But one key aspect not to forget is to take actions. Make small commitments and commit to changing the situation, however little and slow it's going to be. But the most important thing is not to go out of that meeting or out of the session that you've done where you've created that level of trust. You've kind of you've started building the bridge, but you want to reinforce the bridge by people seeing the actions. They know that those were not just words, but something is going to change. Small action that you can take, well, as I've said before, so if you're looking at the situation of people working from home, what can you do? How can you help them be more efficient at home? Do they need policies and procedure on the best way to communicate, the best way to handle whiteboarding? For managers, do they need reassurance and training on the way that they can manage and support their teams, and so much more? So there you go, three ways you can top up the bank account or the trust account you have with your team. We looked at empathy and listening without judgment, acknowledging the withdrawal, and taking action. I'm sure that if you start putting those into practice, whenever again, as I've said before, this goes way beyond just organization. It's something that you can do from your personal relationship as well. You don't have to wait for a crisis to start looking at the emotional bank account or the trust account you have with your people. I would say, start now. It's a great way to assess as a manager if you wanted a new tool in your toolbox. Then really start thinking about what the relationship with your team member or relationship with your colleague, and try to start assessing what is the level of the trust account. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you can find me on on social media, LinkedIn. You can drop a message here, and I'll be glad to hear your thoughts on this trust account. If you've tried it and see improvement within your team, please let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel to find out when new videos are coming out as part of this series. I hope that you will take the time to invest in improving the trust account of your people so that you can build an amazing workplace where everybody feels empowered, trusted, and communication flows.